The council chambers on Varanthos Prime buzzed with chatter, and the flicker of countless translator lights. Representatives from hundreds of species argued over trade rights, territorial disputes, and cultural misunderstandings. At the center, the empty chairs of the human delegation went unnoticed or were dismissed as trivial. No one laughed, but the absence was barely remarked upon. Humans had always been the quiet ones, so easily overlooked. Far across the galaxy on a small, green planet they called Terra Novum, a woman named Celine Hart stood on the balcony of a sprawling observatory. Her hair, dark as the void outside, caught the amber glow of the setting sun. She held a cup of tea and watched the horizon, where dozens of slender ships lifted into the sky, their hulls reflecting light like fireflies against the coming night. Each vessel carried generations of humanity away from the council's reach. A soft voice interrupted her thoughts. "Celine, are you really going to watch them leave like this?" She turned to see Jonas Vale, a fellow engineer, and her partner, leaning against the doorway. His eyes, green and steady, were fixed on the same sky she was watching. She offered a faint smile. "We've done everything we could," she said quietly. "There's nothing left for us here." Jonas crossed the balcony to stand beside her. "I know, but it feels strange, like we're abandoning something important." Celine's gaze remained on the ascending ships. "We're not abandoning, we're choosing." After centuries of begging for respect, of asking for fairness, humanity finally chose a life where no one tells us we're less than anyone else. She sipped her tea, then turned to him. "And now, we get to build a future we actually want." The pair remained in silence for a while, watching the ships climb higher until they were mere points of light against the stars. The hum of engines faded into the night, leaving only the rustle of the wind across the observatory grounds. Jonas finally broke the quiet. "Do you think they'll ever notice us?" Celine's brow furrowed. "Who, the council? The other species? Will anyone care that we left without a word?" he asked, a trace of worry in his voice. Celine's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "They'll notice soon enough," she said softly. "But it won't matter. We won't be waiting for their approval anymore." As the last ship disappeared, Celine placed her hand lightly over Jonas's, the warmth of his fingers grounding her. "We've spent too long listening to a galaxy that never listened to us," she said. "Now it's our turn. It's our life, our rules, our love, and nothing else matters." He nodded, squeezing her hand gently. "We'll make it beautiful," he said, "even if we're the only ones who ever see it." Celine leaned her head against his shoulder. The stars above sparkled brighter than they had in decades. Or perhaps she was just seeing them differently, now that she was free. Around them, the observatory was quiet, tidy, every control, every instrument packed and ready. Humanity had left behind nothing broken, nothing abandoned. Every world, every city, every machine had been put into careful order. "It's strange," Jonas murmured. "All these centuries, we felt so small, like we had to prove ourselves. But standing here, I finally understand. We're not small. We were just invisible." Celine turned to face him, her eyes soft with something deeper than love, pride, sorrow, hope, all mixed together. "And now we're visible to ourselves," she said. "That's all we need." A gentle breeze carried the faint scent of blooming flowers from the observatory gardens. It was a quiet, ordinary moment, and yet, in the distance, humanity's future was unfolding in the void between galaxies, a future they had earned. Quietly, patiently, and together. Celine and Jonas held each other as the last light of day faded. The council would soon realize they were gone. Entire worlds would feel the absence. But in that moment, under the stars, humanity's last moments in their old galaxy were not about pride or vengeance. They were about love, choice, and the quiet triumph of walking away when the world refused to notice. Light from distant suns shimmered across the curved hull of the colony ship Arundel. Inside, the corridors hummed with the quiet rhythm of life, footsteps, whispers, laughter. Humanity had left, but they carried the warmth of home with them. Tucked into every corner of the ship. Kaira Lennox walked along one of the observation decks, her fingers trailing over the smooth glass. Below, the stars streaked past like liquid silver, and she felt the familiar thrill of new beginnings. Beside her, a small drone floated, scanning the readings from the ship's propulsion systems. It beeped softly and turned its light toward her. She smiled, but then her gaze drifted to the figure waiting at the far end of the deck. Alric Darwin, captain of the Arendelle, was leaning against the railing. His dark eyes reflected the cosmos, unblinking, steady. They had never shared much beyond professional conversation, but over the weeks of travel, unspoken familiarity had grown between them. Still staring at the void, Ulrich asked, his voice low and warm. Kaira turned, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Someone has to watch where we're going, she replied. Otherwise, it feels like we're drifting without purpose. Ulrich smiled faintly. Purpose can find you even in the void, he said. Sometimes you just need to let it. She studied him, noticing the slight tension in his jaw, the way his hand hovered near the railing as if he were grounding himself against unseen turbulence. You mean like letting someone in? She asked quietly, her voice catching. Alric single quotes. S gaze softened, and for a heartbeat, the hum of the ship faded into nothing. Perhaps, he said. It's dangerous, and yet somehow worth it. Kara stepped closer, their shoulders almost touching. I think I've been waiting for someone like you, she admitted. Someone who sees more than just the orders and the schedules. Someone who sees me. Ulrich's hand moved to hover near hers, hesitant, searching for permission. Kara, he whispered. The name sounded different in the quiet, almost intimate. She reached out, letting their fingers brush, then clasp. The contact was electric, grounding them both in a way that no star chart or navigational system could. We've left behind everything familiar, she said. But maybe we can build something worth holding onto. Ulrich nodded, his other hand resting lightly on the railing. Then we make a vow, he said, his voice firm. To protect this life we're building. To protect each other, even in the coldest reaches of space. Kara leaned her head against his shoulder. I vow the same, she whispered. Through every light year, through every unknown, the stars outside seemed to pulse with agreement. Or perhaps it was just the reflection of their own hearts. For the first time since leaving the old worlds, Kara felt fully untethered yet completely grounded, suspended in a universe that stretched endlessly round them, but somehow felt intimate. Personal. Weeks passed in this delicate rhythm work. Exploration, quiet stolen moments on observation decks. One evening, as the ship sailed past a nebula that glowed like liquid sapphire, Ulrich took Kara's hand again. Look, he said, his thumb tracing the line of her palm. Even out here, the universe still has its wonders. Kara followed his gaze, awed. The nebula's colors danced, casting shifting shadows over their faces. It's beautiful, she murmured. So are you, Ulrich said softly. She laughed, a sound that mingled with the faint hum of the ship. Stop, she teased. I might start believing you. He grinned, leaning close enough that their foreheads touched. Then believe it, he whispered. Believe that humanity didn't just leave the galaxy. We're starting something new, together. And in that moment, as the Arendelle glided past the stars, Kara and Ulrich realized that leaving behind the world that ignored them was only the beginning. In the quiet, in the vastness, in the stretches of endless night, they had found each other and perhaps, for the first time, they truly understood what it meant to be alive. The research vessel Lumenvale drifted through the remnants of a shattered star system, once a thriving cluster of planets, now a scattering of rocks and ice glimmering against the black canvas of space. Yet, even in the ruin, there was a strange beauty, silent, haunting, and infinite. Arya Selwyn adjusted the data pads in her arms, her eyes scanning the shifting holographic projections of gravitational anomalies. She had always loved the quiet of space, the way it let her think without interruption. Yet, the solitude sometimes weighed too heavily, like gravity pulling at her chest. That evening, as she monitored the outer sensors, a faint ping echoed across the bridge. Another presence, a ship, small, sleek, unfamiliar. She frowned. Incoming vessel, she announced. Her voice carried calm authority, though her heart beat faster than usual. The hatch hissed open moments later, and a figure stepped onto the bridge. Tall, with golden brown skin that caught the light from the control panels, and eyes that seemed to hold galaxies within them. The stranger bowed slightly, a gesture of respect or courtesy. Arya couldn't tell which. "On Theron," the stranger said, voice melodic, tinged with amusement. "I've been tracking your passage, it seems." "Fate enjoys irony," Arya blinked. "Fate or coincidence?" she asked, though part of her already suspected it was neither. The Wren's single quotes S eyes met hers unflinching. "Perhaps both. Or perhaps the universe itself has a plan for those who dare to wander beyond what they know." Arya felt an inexplicable pull, a magnetic tug toward someone who had been a stranger just seconds ago. She swallowed hard, trying to focus on the mission logs in front of her. But her gaze kept returning to him. "You're unusual," she said finally, and the words sounded softer than she intended. Theron chuckled. "The sound like wind brushing across distant sands. And you are cautious. It makes you intriguing." Over the following days, their paths intertwined. Theron accompanied her on planetary surveys, hovering alongside her as they navigated the fractured terrain of moons and asteroids. Conversation began as necessary communication, but gradually, it became something else, light, teasing, filled with curiosity and quiet admiration. One night, they stood together on the observation deck, the remnants of a dying sun casting long shadows across the ship. Arya's fingers hovered over the railing, and Theron's hand brushed against hers. "You feel it too," he said, almost a whisper. Arya nodded, unable to form words. The pull between them was undeniable, a thread weaving through the silence of space. She realized that even in the void, connection could blossom, fragile but luminous. "What happens now?" she asked, her voice tentative. Theron's gaze softened, his hand closing over hers. "We explore, together, not just the stars, but whatever this is between us." Arya felt warmth bloom through her chest, a stark contrast to the cold vacuum outside. She leaned slightly into his shoulder, letting herself believe that even among ruins, there could be growth, renewal, and unexpected tenderness. "I've spent so long studying what's gone," she said quietly. "I almost forgot to look for what's coming." "Then look with me," Theron replied. "We'll navigate the unknown, together, whatever comes." As they stood side by side, gazing at the scattered remnants of a system once alive, Arya realized that humanity's departure from the old worlds had left more than emptiness. It had left space for new connections, new beginnings, and perhaps love that could stretch across the void. And for the first time in a long time, Arya allowed herself to hope not just for survival, but for a life woven with someone who understood the silence, the awe, and the infinite possibilities waiting beyond the stars. The scout vessel Aerith drifted near the edge of a dying nebula, its iridescent clouds stretching for light years, glowing faintly like embers in the dark. Captain Elenver moved across the bridge with practiced precision, her fingers tracing the control panels as if she could coax the stars themselves into revealing their secrets. The mission was clear: chart unclaimed systems and locate potential colonies. But Ellen had grown weary of procedure, of the endless reports and simulations. Space felt too empty, and yet she couldn't deny the thrill of discovery. Then came a signal, a rhythmic pulse unlike any sensor signature she'd encountered. It seemed almost alive, vibrating through the hull and echoing in the bridge's silent corners. "I don't like this," said her navigator, a small, weary alien with luminescent skin that shimmered like liquid silver. "It's calling to us." Ellen's curiosity outweighed caution. "Bring us closer," she said, her voice steady but tense. As Aerith approached, the source of the pulse became clear: a massive structure, floating abandoned in the nebula's center. Towers of blackened metal and crystal stretched into the swirling gases. It was both alien and strangely familiar, as if the design echoed patterns from forgotten memories. And then she saw him. He emerged from the shadow of the spires, tall and lithe, his dark hair swept back by some unseen current. His eyes were silver, reflecting the nebula's dying glow, and when he spoke, his voice carried a resonance that made the air hum. "I've waited for travelers," he said. "Not many find their way here." Ellen studied him carefully. "Who are you?" "I am Kasrin," he replied, stepping closer. "And you? You are curious, the kind who cannot ignore the pulse." The pulse, Ellen realized, was not just in the structure, it was in him. Each word he spoke vibrated through the ship, through her chest, awakening something she hadn't felt in years: awe, wonder, and Longing. Over the following days, Catherine guided Ellen through the ruins, teaching her to feel the pulse of the world around them. He showed her the lattice of energy that bound the nebula's fragments together, the subtle currents that shaped life and motion even in death, and Ellen found herself drawn to him, not just by the mysteries he revealed, but by the way he seemed to understand the quiet corners of her mind. Their conversations began with strategy, shifted to curiosity, and eventually softened into something intimate. One evening, on a balcony overlooking the glowing expanse, Ellen extended her hand. "I've never felt anything like this," she admitted. Catherine single quotes S hand met hers, his silver eyes reflecting hers. "You're not meant to. Not yet, but now. Now we can learn together." The pulse of the structure thrummed beneath them, resonating through bone and heart alike. Ellen felt it in every fiber of her being, a reminder that even among ruins, even on worlds long abandoned, life and love could emerge, strong and persistent. "What happens if the pulse fades?" she asked, uncertainty threading her voice. Catherine single quotes S smile was gentle, but unwavering. "Then we carry it ourselves, and so, amid the remnants of forgotten civilizations and the dying light of distant stars, Ellen and Catherine began to chart not just the physical universe, but the unexplored terrain of connection and devotion. Together, they learned that even in the cold, indifferent void of space, hearts could beat in synchrony, and hope could pulse stronger than any nebula's glow. The last human outpost drifted on the fringe of a starless void, a fragile relic suspended between forgotten constellations. Alira, the outpost's chief engineer, moved through the corridors with quiet determination, checking systems that hadn't seen maintenance in decades. The machinery hummed faintly, a tired heartbeat echoing in the empty station. She was not alone. On the observation deck, a visitor watched her silently. Zirin, an alien of immense grace, with translucent wings that shimmered like fractured light, had been drawn to the outpost by rumors of human persistence. His kind rarely ventured so close to the void's edge. "Why do you linger here?" Alira asked without turning, her hands tracing the worn panels. Zere in single quotes S voice was soft, melodic, yet it carried weight, because someone remains. And when something is forgotten by the universe, it becomes precious. Their eyes met, and Alira felt the pull before she understood it. A resonance, subtle yet undeniable, vibrating through the station, through the void, through her very being. It was not like the pulse Ellen had found in the nebula. It was deeper, older, a memory of humanity itself reaching across the dark. "You mean, we're remembered?" she asked, hope threading her tone. "More than remembered," Zirin said. "The stars themselves notice now." Over the following days, Alira and Zirin worked side by side, repairing the outpost, reconnecting its systems to a network of drifting satellites. As they labored, conversation became laughter, questions became stories, and stories became intimacy. Every small touch, hands brushing over delicate controls, shared glances across the observation deck carried the weight of unspoken understanding. One night, a faint glimmer appeared in the void, distant lights, flickering, moving. A fleet of alien vessels, previously hostile or indifferent, now approached cautiously, drawn by the outpost's reactivated beacon. Alira's heart raced as she realized humanity was not lost, not entirely. "Are they coming for us?" she whispered. "Coming to see," Zirin said, taking her hand, their fingers intertwining. "And to know that the universe still holds meaning because of you, because of what you endure." As the alien ships settled into orbit, signals rippling through space like quiet applause, Alira and Zirin stood together. The stars, long silent witnesses, seemed to shimmer with recognition. "I never thought I'd feel connection out here," Alira admitted. "But with you, with someone who understands, it's different." Zirin pressed his forehead to hers. "We are both reminders," he said, "that even when worlds fade and alliances crumble, hearts endure. And sometimes, love endures longer than empires." The void outside no longer felt empty. It was alive with possibility, with echoes of humanity, with the gentle pulse of hearts joined across species, across light years. Alira realized that the greatest discovery was not a new system, nor a forgotten relic. It was the understanding that even in the vast, indifferent universe, connection could flourish. and as the stars seemed to lean closer, as the alien fleet silently observed, Alira and Zirin let themselves hope. Because the universe, which had long paused when humanity faltered, was finally remembering life, love, and resilience could not be silenced. They embraced, and for the first time in centuries, humanity felt whole again, not alone, not vanished, but luminous, remembered, and loved.